The second day of preseason testing is now wrapped up. We got a little bit more information about the potential pecking order in 2022, with yet again Ferrari and McLaren looking very strong in particular, and we also had another rough day for some of the teams, and a few reliability issues with even some red flags as well. So this is what testing is now all about, because as fun as it is to see the teams just do lap after lap of great laps and just non-stop running, it is also quite good to see a few reliability issues and just seeing some of these teams kind of have their backs up against the wall as well. So let's get into all of the really big stories on the second day, and also first of all get into the rundown of the times from the day. It's all aboard the Ferrari hype train as Charles Leclerc set the quickest time of the day with a 1 minute 19.689 on the C3 tyre, and also did 79 laps worth of running. Now, if you missed my previous video, I will remind once again to the people that don't know, Pirelli have brought the entire range of their tyres, with the C1 being their hardest compound and the C5 being their softest compound. Now, the time that Leclerc did was a tenth slower than what Lando Norris was able to do when he set the fastest time on day one, but nevertheless it was another very strong showing by Ferrari, certainly in terms of the times, because if you remember in day one they were the second and third quickest with Leclerc and Sainz. In second place was Pierre Gasly, a very good day by AlphaTauri. They're just continuing to build that mileage, and he matched Max Verstappen's amount of miles from the first day with 147 laps, a mega effort by Pierre Gasly. In third place was Daniel Ricciardo in the McLaren, also a huge amount of mileage. In fourth and fifth we have the fastest Mercedes with George Russell, and then the last Ferrari with Carlos Sainz also doing a mega amount of laps in the morning session of 71 laps. In sixth we have Sebastian Vettel in the Aston Martin, and a bit of a frustrated Sergio Perez, who wasn't able to kind of use the entire day. He did have a few reliability issues which we'll talk about later, and he is in seventh with only 78 laps from the entire day. Haas happily did get a little bit more running with both of their drivers. Nikita Mazepin set the 8th quickest time and did 42 laps, with Mick Schumacher down in 13th, but he did do 66 laps, so especially after their slow start to day one, really good to see that team back up and running. The Williams of Alex Albon was in 9th. In 10th place, we have the only rookie for 2022, Guan Yu Zhou. It was really good to see the Chinese driver finally get kind of his first taste of Formula 1, especially after how compromised the team was in the first day of running. He managed to do 71 laps, so a really positive day for Alfa Romeo, although they did also have a few more issues and Valtteri Bottas wasn't quite able to do probably as many laps as he wanted, but again, after a rough first day, they really did bounce back quite well. And then rounding out some of the more interesting drivers and teams at the bottom of the times, it is Esteban Ocon with Alpine, who did not use DRS apparently the entire session or for most of it, but he did do 125 laps. Now, there's a few things behind Alpine, and they're actually one of the teams that's struggling more, but they're really trying to just get that mileage down, mostly for the reliability of their brand new power unit. But again, even though the times are not as impressive, the laps equally to his teammate as well. I think Fernando was able to do 141, so both of the drivers being able to do over 125 laps in consecutive days, that is very, very impressive. And then rounding off the list with the slowest time of the day is Sir Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes with a time of 1 minute 22.562 and only being able to do 40 laps in the morning session. Now, for the most part, Mercedes haven't told us too much in terms of why Lewis didn't do too much running, but they did do a lot of testing with the aero rake, so I'm guessing they're just trying to do a bit of number crunching there and there. And either way, once again, his teammate George Russell did a pretty solid amount of laps in the afternoon session with 66, but nevertheless, that is the roundup for day 2 of preseason testing. So undoubtedly, one of the biggest talking points has got to be Ferrari. They've got to be the team that's probably most happiest with their second day of testing, and to be honest, probably most happiest in testing, just full stop, because not only did they set the quickest time today, and again, Charles Leclerc actually bettered his fastest time, so he was up there for pretty much most of the afternoon, but both their drivers combined did the most amount of laps with 150. And when you go off the back of yesterday as well, where both of their drivers were second and third, not only do they have mileage, not only can they clearly, when asked upon on the softer tire, Leclerc or even on the C3 like Charles Leclerc did, they can extract good lap times out of their cars. And that's the really big thing. It's not just about setting the fastest lap time, because that's what we really struggle to kind of really understand in testing. It's about being able to actually extract that performance when you need it. So they've got the mileage, they've got the speed, and come on, you can't not be excited about Ferrari clearly looking very good at this very early stage of testing. And I mean, this kind of comes off the back of a piece of content I did a few days ago where I made a video basically asking, are we overhyping Ferrari in 2022? If you have not seen it, then definitely go and check it out. I really worked hard on that video, but it is good to see Ferrari up there, and also McLaren as well. Another really strong day for them, 126 laps for Daniel Ricciardo. There's no doubt that Daniel Ricciardo is one of the drivers who's under the most pressure in 2022 to perform, especially after how badly he underperformed in 2021. I have also done a video on Daniel Ricciardo, so definitely go and check that out as well very recently. I'm sorry that I keep plugging my content, by the way. It just seems to happen, but yeah, a very strong day by him. Over 100 laps, that's exactly what he needs. I really want to see this improvement for Daniel Ricciardo, and again, even though we talk about the times and you can't look too much into it, it is good to see Ferrari up there and McLaren. And even though you are running on different fuel loads and having kind of different programs, I'm sure as a team in the real world, it is good to see your team up there in the times. I'm sure it gives them a big morale boost, and certainly for Daniel Ricciardo, the big challenge is going to be getting used to these cars, and more than anything else, getting closer to Lando Norris, because I think we all know that Lando Norris is a superstar right now. I mean, he's probably capable of challenging for a championship, and Ricciardo needs to be closer. I'm not saying he needs to beat him, but certainly throughout testing, I'm hoping that he's kind of got better vibes in terms of this car, getting used to how it's driving. And again, certainly for day 2, I think Ferrari and McLaren are the really big winners. However, one of the teams who didn't have as good of a second day, and one of the drivers as well, was unfortunately the Red Bull team with Sergio Perez. Now, it was Max Verstappen who was in the car in the first day, and it was Sergio Perez who was in it today. Red Bull are one of those teams where they haven't split it between their drivers in terms of the morning and the afternoon. They have given the entire day to each of their drivers, and unfortunately, although Sergio Perez, although it was good to see him kind of out in the RB18 for the first time in anger, he did have to stop on the track due to a gearbox issue. So that really ate into his track time, because again, Red Bull had the entire day just for Sergio Perez, and he was only able to do 78 laps. When you compare that to, again, someone like Ferrari with Charles Leclerc just in the afternoon session, because obviously Ferrari split it between Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. Leclerc in just the afternoon session was able to do 79 laps by himself. So yeah, that's really going to be frustrating for Red Bull and Sergio Perez, but again, these things happen, and when it comes to gearbox failures, that's not a really big thing. You can find the issue, and there was also some very interesting photos of Red Bull bringing upgrades to their car already, so they're already testing different packages on their car, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. So even though it is frustrating, I still think that Red Bull I still think they're doing a pretty good job, but yeah, just unfortunately for Sergio Perez, not the track time that he wanted. And also another issue was for Nikita Mazepin, who had a fuel pump in the afternoon session, and again, it needed to be red flagged. Luckily, as I said in kind of the rundown, he was able to do some laps and has kind of improved on their first day, but yeah, Mazepin only able to do 42 laps with his teammate doing 66, so a little bit better for Haas. But yeah, when it comes to the fuel pump stuff, is it related to also the issues that they had on day 1 as well? Reliability is going to be one of the big things, especially for these kind of teams at the bottom. So yeah, I think Haas will be kind of happy to get the mileage on the board, but definitely frustrated to yet again be hit with reliability issues. Now, one of the things that was definitely talked about a lot during the second day was how these brand new generation of ground effect cars were handling, especially at top speeds. Now, one of the words that was talked about a lot was porpoising. Now, this is a word that I'm sure plenty of us are going to learn in 2022, but basically, some of the teams were struggling with porpoising. Now, if you're wondering what that means, basically the back of the car, when it's at top speed, if there's any separation in between your Venturi tunnels and also the bleeding edge of the barge board, then if there's any separation and if any air is able to escape and get through that, then it basically causes the rear of your car to bounce up and down as it goes down the back straight. Now, this happens at absolute top speeds, and as you can imagine, you definitely do not want that to be happening. Now, Formula One put out a great tweet with a video showing this happening to Charles Leclerc, and I can't describe how severe it is. It just looks so strange with these cars bouncing up and down almost at top speed. So yeah, it's an issue that a lot of the teams are having. Mattia Binotto actually said that he thinks the teams have underestimated how much porpoising was going to really affect the cars, and certainly one of the teams that's been hit really big is Alpine. Now, you might have heard me earlier say that Alpine were running for the most part without using their DRS. Now, from all of the reports that I've read, basically if you have your DRS open, it almost kind of solves the porpoising just a little bit, or at least helps the car out. But obviously during a race situation, you're not going to be able to always run with your DRS. So I think Alpine for the most part were running without their DRS just to kind of really test their car to the max, get all of the data that they need without the DRS open, basically with the car at its absolute worst. And yeah, they're definitely one of the teams, along with actually quite a few others as well. It's not just an Alpine related issue that are definitely gonna have to solve this problem. But again, this is what happens with the brand new generation of cars. It's these problems that you're not gonna see in the wind tunnel. You can only see it with your real car out on track. And I'm sure it's gonna be a big topic going forward as well. Well, there you have it. That's my quick roundup from the second day of preseason testing. We have just one more day to go at Barcelona before we finally head out to the first official test in Bahrain. Anyway, that is it from me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments box below. And if you did enjoy this video, then don't forget to also subscribe to the channel. That would be greatly appreciated, and I will see you in the next one.